complete with all 9 frames that you drew in Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to use Sophia's here as an example. You are going to have all of these AI files, frame 1, frame 2, and so on and so on. Not that one. So what I'm doing now is I'm holding Command on my keyboard, and I'm selecting all of those. Then what's going to happen is we're going to hand in the JPEG versions of these files. To make the JPEG versions, I'm just going to do it with one as an example. I'm going to use number 1 here. I'm going to double click it, open it up in Illustrator. I'm going to show you how to export that as a JPEG so that you can hand it in on Google Classroom. So you're going to be handing in all 9 JPEGs. I'm going to minimize this for a moment. Minimize this. Okay, so here's Illustrator. So here's an example of one frame from Sophia, right? You're going to go to File, Export, Export As. And when the next window pops up, make sure you click on Use Artboard and change it to JPEG for the format. You're going to save it right back to your same folder. You're going to leave it with the same name. So we already did this for Sophia, and that's why in her folder now you can see that she has all of these JPEG ones, which are the purple ones. So all of these purple files, the JPEG versions of all her frames, are going to get handed in on Google Classroom. That is located here, and it is letter D, this one. So this was the storyboard hand in, letter C. The drawings you did in Illustrator as PNGs or JPEG versions is fine. And you're going to hand those in there. And then your actual finished animation, which we're going to cover the steps of right now, is going to be handed in here where it says letter E. Okay, so you've done all your frames. You have them in your folder. The best thing to do is to go onto your desktop first in the background here. Right-click, create a new folder. In that folder, you're going to type in your name and the word frames, like what you see here. And then you're going to open up the graphics server, go to your folder, find those frames. I'm talking about the AI ones now. And I want you to copy all of these AI frames onto your desktop. To do that, all you're going to do is click, hold, drag, and drop into that frames folder. So now you will have these in 2 places. You will have them in your graphics folder. You'll also have them on your desktop. And because there's 9 of them, it might take a minute or 2. And then once they are done, you can close out of the folder to the server. You're going to go ahead and open up. I'm just going to close Illustrator for now. Okay, I'm going to open up Adobe After Effects. If you don't see it, go to your Launchpad, click and drag until you see Adobe After Effects. It is this one here. Yours might say Adobe After Effects 2024. It might say 25. You click it, it's going to open up. So this one looks like it's opening a different version of it, but I have it open already. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you open it. On the top left-hand corner, the first thing you're going to do is go to Project. And in this area here, we have to import the frames. And we're going to do one at a time. So we double-click. Once you double-click, it's going to ask you where you want to import from. You're going to go on the left-hand side, select Desktop. There's Sophia Frames. I'm going to double-click that just to get in. And then there's Frame 1. Once you've selected Frame 1, at the bottom, these are the settings that you have to have before you hit Open. Make sure that you see Composition, Retain Layer Sizes, so everything comes up the same size as how you created it in Illustrator, and Create Composition, and then you're going to hit Open. Once you've done that, nothing's going to appear at the bottom, but you will see here on the left-hand side a little composition with these colors, and then the folder has all of the actual layers that you created in Illustrator. To get going, you're going to double-click the composition. Once you've done that, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see all the layers come up here, and they should be stacked correctly. Typically, the OG storyboard, you don't need anymore. So either you can hide it with a little eyeball, or you can hit delete and get rid of it. The next thing that you're going to do is we want each frame to last for only about 3 to 4 seconds. So I'm going to go all the way to the right here, and I'm going to pull on this work area end, and I'm going to slide this until I get to about 3.5 seconds or so, right about there. You can go a little longer, a little shorter, that's okay. Then again at the top, there's one more. This is called the Time Navigator end, so we're going to bring that to the same spot that we just brought this one, so you can see it like this. Perfect. Okay. So what you'll be creating is only this length of time, basically 3.5 seconds or a little bit more than 3 seconds. If you click the top layer here on the timeline, hold Shift on your keyboard and select the bottom layer, and then move the playhead to the end of where we want it to go. What we can do now is split this so that the rest of this does not, this information basically does not exist. So I move the playhead to the end. I click the top layer, hold Shift, click the bottom, so they're all selected. You can see here they're all selected. I could have done it here too. And I'm going to go to Edit, Split Layer. When I do that, it comes up like this where it actually split it. If I just hit Delete on my keyboard, they're gone. And so now this exists only from 0 to a little bit past 3. Okay, so how do you animate this now? The next step is to begin by deciding what you want to animate first. So, for example, the top layer here for Sophia has the butterfly. If I hide it right here, I can see that the butterfly disappears from her screen. This way I know for sure what's on each layer. You probably did a nice job of naming them, but just double check yourself. Okay, so I click on the butterfly. I click the little arrow next to the word butterfly on that layer. Then there's a transformation arrow. Once you've done that, you'll see things like anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. These are things you can change about the item that's on that layer, in this case, the butterfly. So what I do is I go onto my timeline and I move the playhead to wherever I want to start. So let's say at the very beginning, I want this butterfly to be smaller and off the page. So what I can do is I can click right on it here and move it off the page. If I want to make it smaller, I can go to Scale and resize it. Okay, so I'm going to make it small like that. So I haven't made any keyframes yet, but basically what I've done is I moved it and I changed the scale so it's smaller. Sometimes it's helpful right here to select like 50% so you can see it from far away. Things will look like this. So you can see the item outside of the actual page. Okay, and so now what we want to do is we want to create keyframes. How do you create a keyframe? Well, I bring the playhead to the beginning like I was before. I go over to where it says Scale, and there is a little stopwatch where it says Scale. I'm going to click that stopwatch. The very first time I click that stopwatch, you'll notice that this comes up here with a little diamond shape. This has added a keyframe, so if I go over to the right now, you will see a keyframe at that exact position where the playhead was. This is telling the computer that, hey, that part, that image is that size at that location right now. I could also click on Position because we're going to be moving it. So now it's position on the page and its size. I could also do rotation, right? And so once you've done those 3 or however many you want to do, you move the playhead forward in time. You can put it wherever you'd like. I can move it to 2 seconds if I'd like. And now what I want to do is I want to move this where I want it to go. So let's say we want it to come to the middle of the page. And let's say we want it to get bigger. Over here I can resize it, or I can go right up to the picture and hold Shift and pull from the corner of this picture. Sometimes I find it easier to do it here where it says Scale. So I'm going to increase this. Let's look back. There we go. So now if I play it from the beginning, you'll notice that it's moving and getting bigger. So the computer will automatically make those second keyframes as long as you adjust the parameters. So again, if I move the playhead and then I took this and I moved it off the screen over here, maybe I made it even bigger by pulling those numbers. And so now when you play it back, it should look like this. Okay, these keyframes that we did for scale, this one's rotation, we didn't do anything. This one's all the scale ones and this one's all the position ones. If you move them by selecting them closer to each other, then the action will happen faster. So if I move them all closer to the beginning ones and I look back at what I did, you will see this. Okay, and the more pulled out they are, obviously the longer it takes for these things to happen. You can have as many keyframes as you want. If it doesn't add the keyframe that you'd like, you can always hit this little diamond shape over here and get to the diamonds. Okay, so that's the first step of the process. There'll be a second video that shows you then how, once you are done with your first frame, how to go into the second frame, complete it, and then add it to your first frame. Because basically we're going to add each frame down this timeline.